course, a lot of people know you from your previous life, I'm going to call it, from hosting and from being on the radio and TV. And now we see you in this new context. So I have to ask you, going back, did you always want to do comedy?
Where it went back to was I worked for E! Entertainment. That was my first job ever in the industry. And I was on Chelsea Lately. And I have to fly around to interview a lot of celebrities. And everywhere I went, people were like, hey, where are you performing? Where are you performing? I was like, what are you talking about? They were like, you're a comedian, right? I go, no, I'm just a reporter. And so my mind was like, well, if they think I'm a comedian, let me try it. So that's what led me into comedy and trying it the first time. I did it at the Miami Improv. And the first time I did it, I got off stage, picked up the phone, called my mom, and said, this was what I was born to do. It was a very emotional moment. And then I've been doing it the last 9 years.
So in the midst of your TV career and interviewing and all that stuff, you were doing comedy on the side, or were you?
Oh, yeah. You know the TV schedule is tough. I mean, you're always shooting things. You're like, for me, I worked at The Insider, and then I worked at Extra a little bit. So I was always flying out, in and out. So anywhere I would fly, I would try to get up to do comedy. Or if I was in town, I would work late nights, and then I would do a red carpet, but then go to the Improv to perform. So I was hustling on my comedy, and it was like this thing where everybody knew I did. Mm-hmm. But it's 9 years, if you know comedy, 9 years is a very short time of doing it. Actually, it's less than a lot of people on AG. I have less experience than a lot of comics that have been doing a lot longer than me on AGT. So it's a thing where I just love it so much. So I went up a lot. I go up 4 or 5 times a week. Not now, obviously, yeah. But I'm just a comedy nerd, and I love doing it. And it just fulfills me so much because I try to bring joy, laughter, and love through comedy and bring people together. And that's what I love about it.
So tell me when that moment was when you realized, you know what, this TV career is great, this industry is great, but I'm supposed to be a comedian, and this is what I'm going to focus solely on.
A couple of years ago, I have very successful friends in comedy, and they're like my mentors. Joe Coy is my mentor in comedy, but I know like the Jim Jeffries, the Joe Rogans, the Bill Burrs, and people of that, we come across each other in comedy clubs. So you see them, and they're an inspiration, and they love what they do. 24/7, they're doing what they love. And a couple of years ago, I looked at my wife and said, I think for right now, I'm done with hosting, and I want to go after my dream. We're going to lose a lot of money. It's going to be tough, but I feel on the back end, it's going to be fruitful, and I get to do what I love. I get to provide for my family, because that's what it comes around to, just being able to provide for your family. And this is really what I want to do, because in my mind, I see it already happening. I don't know. I just feel this was the right move. And you never want to be at a job where you're spinning your wheels. Right. Like at the end of the day, you're like, did I achieve anything today? Am I moving forward in life? And I've been in a couple of jobs where I just felt like, okay, this is a paycheck. I love what I'm doing, but it's a paycheck. It's not moving me forward in my career, because my ultimate goal is to have stand-up support me and my family. And because it's the one thing I love doing. So that about 2 years ago, we had that conversation, and man, she backed me up 100%. And yeah,
it's so good to have. That is so awesome to have.
Let me tell you, my wife is everything to me. Like, she makes me who I am. She really is. I always tell her, she's the lifeline to the family. She's the backbone to the family. She keeps it all together. When I had Corona, she was here for 50 days alone, like taking care of 2 kids. Like, she's everything, man. And she's let me go after my dream for my family, and I think, like I said, I think it's gonna pay off.
So did it feel like you were starting from scratch in a way? I mean, yeah, you knew people in the industry and you had mentors and stuff, but did it feel like, okay, I'm completely starting my life over?
Oh, 100%. 100%. Because you can know whoever you want. But in comedy, if you're not funny, you're not funny. Like, they will tell you. It's worse to have your friends that are known go, hey, man, you ain't funny. So, like, that's the one thing I love about comics. They're very honest. But I'm a comedy nerd. Like what I said is, I have a very addictive personality. So once I love something, I do it all the time. So I became a comedy nerd. I did comedy 24/7, and I hit the clubs because comedy is all about stage time. The more stage time you have, the faster you learn, the faster you grow. So I was hitting it. So yeah, it doesn't like some people are like, well, you know a lot of people. It's like, all right, but that doesn't mean you're funny. You know, some people are like, well, you were a host, so it gives you an advantage. I'm like, I know 99% of hosts can't do stand-up.
I know I definitely can't. I'm not funny at all. But it's interesting that you say, you know a lot of people and maybe then you've been a host, but it's funny because all the people from America's Got Talent were people that you've interviewed in the past, and now you're kind of on this other end, and they're the judges, and you like you said, you have to be funny. What did that feel like, standing up there in front of these people that you know, but they don't know you like this?
You know what? It was a surreal moment where you hope that they're judging you. You know they're judging everybody harshly, but you don't know. It's like, am I going to get judged even harder because, they know me? But I'll put it like this. I'll put it in comedy terms. Never do a stand-up show in front of friends and family because they won't laugh. They won't laugh as much as people that don't know you. Now, Simon, Heidi, Sophia, and Howie, they don't know me like I don't know them like that, but it's always better to perform in front of people that don't know you, because they're learning about you for the first time. But it was a surreal moment where I remember 2015, I was on the AGT carpet, the premiere right there in Pasadena. I interviewed Simon, and he took 2 steps, came back to me after the interview and go, you know what? You're very talented. You have something special. You're funny. And I've never forgot that moment. Simon's the kingmaker. He's the dude that's discovered tons of bands, tons of people. Everything he develops turns into platinum, and for somebody of that magnitude, I think this, you just always want to be appreciated by people in your industry. And when he said that, I never knew that I was going to be on stage in front of him, but I knew I wanted to be in front of him somehow. So that it was a surreal moment when I walked out and there's Simon, there's Sophia, there's Howie. I mean, Eric was there in place of Heidi, but it was just so emotional. Yeah.
You saw the emotion come out when you were done. And it's so funny because you go from, you're telling jokes, you're laughing, they're laughing, and then these waterworks. And I feel like that must have been years of just so where did that all come from?
Years of hustling, years of no's. In this industry, get prepared. If you ever want to be in Hollywood, it's no, 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 no. It's 99% no's. It is no. But to know, AGT to me is probably one of the only shows on television that can actually change your life. If you're on that show, it will change your life. I've just been on one episode and I can already tell what it's done for me. Like, it's amazing, the fans of AGT. So when you're on a show like that, I have friends that have been on the show. I've interviewed people and seen their lives change on the show. So it's that pressure combined with all the no's you've gotten to Hollywood. This could be your big break, not for just me, but for my whole family. And then to hear the yes, it's kind of like it was a balloon being blown up with no's, and then the yes just released everything. And I just couldn't, all of it. And I just couldn't stop. I just couldn't stop crying. It was the best feeling of my life. One of the best. I don't want to say that because marrying my wife and having my kids was the best feeling of my life. But it's one of the best feelings to just have people of that magnitude kind of co-signing you, saying, you're good. You're good.
You're actually funny.
You're actually funny.
So where did you get the idea to do something like America's Got Talent? Because I feel like there's so many routes you can take and, trying to get to your eventual dream. Why was that the route that you decided, like, hey, I want to be on the show?
You know what? It was a thing where I've always loved AGT, and I've been wanting to do it for the last 6 years, believe it or not. I've been wanting to do it, but since I was tied up with contracts, I worked for rival networks, I guess you could say. So they would never be like, yeah, we're going to let you do NBC show. No, they would never let me do that. So I had to wait till I was done. And that's kind of what I try to tell people. Dreams don't have deadlines. You keep going after your dream. So my dream, I got to live out my dream when I was done with my last contract. And then it was like, okay, so now I'm prepared. I can do this. And nobody can say no now. And you have to put yourself in an opportunity where you can say yes to yourself and do things you want to do. Because I love hosting. Don't get me wrong. I love hosting. I love interviewing people. But my passion is stand-up comedy. So last year I didn't do it. But this year I was like, you know what? It's been a year. I've been practicing. I feel like I'm on a level where I could go nationally and hopefully entertain some people. And I got a hold of, I searched out a casting person from it myself, auditioned for them. They liked it, and the rest is history.
Nice. So where did you talk about practicing and just working on it. What do you do to work on, I can't imagine as a comedian, do you tell yourself jokes in the mirror? How are you practicing? Well,
right now during COVID, you can't. Well, just think about any comic that's on the show. When you're a singer, you can sing. When you're a dancer, you can dance. All you need is your music. When you're a comic, you have to tell jokes in front of live audiences to see if they work, because you don't know. So now I'm just walking around we're waiting for the second cut. So hopefully I make the judge's cut. But the pressure is if you go to that live show, the jokes you're going to tell on that show, you don't even know if they work because you haven't performed them. You may have performed them 5 months ago and they could have worked, but is your timing right? You're not in front of an audience for 4 or 5 months. I mean, that's like somebody in another field not doing it for 5 months and just going up and trying it. So as a comic, that's what, any comic in the competition, that's what we're doing. Whatever comics make the live show, they're going up with no practice. None. I mean, it's just kind of all right, let's try this out. So that's the nerve-wracking part for any comedian, whether it's me, whether it's Crystal, whether it's whoever is moving on to the next round. So many great comedians. I think it's the only profession on this show where you literally won't have any practice. You can practice in the mirror, but you won't be in front of a live crowd, where I feel like all the other things on the show, you can at least practice it, Yeah.
So where do you come up with your material? Because I imagine there are endless sources for you, but where are you coming up with this stuff?
Family. I just my kids, my parents are crazy. So my mom's Asian, my dad's Black. I mean, they're both stubborn. So, it's a thing. I grew up in a family where I'm an only child. My parents didn't tell me they loved me till I was 21. That's them. And I've never heard my parents tell each other they loved each other, to this day. But I know they do, my mom is Asian and she's prideful. We do not say what is known. And my dad is stubborn and Black. And he's well, she ain't going to say it. I ain't going to say it either. So it's that kind of vibe in our house. But I pull comedy from everywhere. I'm pulling comedy right now from beating Corona, even being in a hospital. It was bad at the time, but a lot of funny stuff happened in the hospital. So I pull from
about too is, so we're doing this. You're watching the show, you're doing all the interviews in the middle of just this pandemic that we could have never imagined was going to happen in our lifetimes. We never thought we'd stay home for 6 months. And then on top of that, you actually had the coronavirus, which I know is not fun. I had it myself. I know it's not fun. How does that all contribute to this whole crazy experience?
It makes it even sweeter just to be alive, because I had it bad. I got about 6 days after my audition. And the doctor told me he didn't know if I was going to, I said, am I going to make it? He says, well, it's going to go good or it's going to go really bad and we'll know in 2 days. Yeah. So I was in ICU for 8 days. It was scary times. It was really scary. But now that I saw myself on the show, this happened right after the show, it's a blessing. It's a blessing. Like you saw in the first episode, I said, my dad, I'm turning to my dad because I said, every day you wake up is a great day. That was before Corona. You know what I mean? Now yes, it's a blessing just to open your eyes in the morning. I can take care of everything else. There's nothing too big. God's got me. So there you go.
I know the feeling. So going forward, of course, first of all, you kind of had to keep this a bit of a secret too. And you kind of have to keep, all this stuff under wraps, which can't be easy. But going forward, what are you looking forward to? How are you kind of preparing yourself and your family for whatever is next, which I feel like is going to be big? But
we'll see. But judges' cuts are next. But like I said, I think if I do move on to the live shows, what I'm so excited for, if I do move forward, is for my comedy, for people to see comedy that's really related to me and my family. So you get to learn about my wife, you get to learn about my son, you get to learn about my parents. Because the first set I did was just about getting old, So you get a lot of people understood it and they got it, but it was about me getting old. But I like to get more personal. And then if I go up again, I want to get more personal and tell the stories of like being in the delivery room with my wife, or growing up Black and Asian and how that was, how it is having a Black father, how it is having an Asian mother, how it is them always trying to one up each other. I mean, the material is endless. So I think moving forward, if I do move forward, it's a thing where like you're gonna really get to know me in my comedy. So that's what I'm excited for. Rather, the first set was great, I loved it, but you didn't really get to know me in it. Everything moving forward is going to be me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and having you with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would you consider, this is a curious from my perspective, would you consider, I know you said you love stand-up, but would you consider doing comedy like, kind of more acting, or is it just you like being?
Oh, yeah. I definitely want to, AGT is my first priority. I want to see, what I do in that. But I want to act. I want to be a comedic actor. I want to get out there, and I want to build, everything I do moving forward is building my brand and not somebody else's. You know what I mean? And of course, when you're working on different projects, you're building other people's brands too. But the satisfaction is you're doing what you love 24/7. You're doing what you love. And that's where I want to get to a place where every day I wake up, it's like, oh, I'm excited. Like right now, I do my podcast, The Michael Yo Show. I love doing that. Right now, I'm on AGT. I love doing comedy. So I'm doing everything I love right now. So that's. I want to get to a point where if I'm acting, I'm doing that because I love it. Life, trust me, after COVID, life is too short to not do what you love. And you got to take risk. And like I always say, dreams don't have deadlines, so just push, keep going.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You have a great one.
Thank you, Coronavirus Survivors United.
Boom! Air hug.